This is Coach Lee, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about why your ex moves so slowly sometimes. Take a quick second and click the subscribe button below so that you can be notified when I have more videos like this on relationships, breakups, marriage, mindfulness, and attraction. So a lot of times right after a breakup, people will find one of my videos about the no contact rule, and they will start implementing the rule, which means they're not contacting their ex in any way, shape, or form. And sometimes people will break during that time. I heard one client tell me, I just thought it was a good idea to keep the lines of communication open, even though we had thoroughly discussed why no contact was so important, especially because his ex had said they wanted space and they wanted time to think. And so I just want to tell you again, as I often do, how you will look for excuses and justifications to break no contact. It's only natural, and you should be patient with yourself because you love this person, you're anxious about the situation, you're feeling the loss, and so any kind of contact with them will feel good. It will feel like you're making progress. It will feel like they're not forgetting you, like they're not getting away from you. And so your brain and your emotions will try to find a way to justify contacting them, even though I have 2 decades of professional observation showing that no contact is the most effective thing you could do in this situation. It's the mature response. It's not a game. When someone tells you they want you out of their life, if you stay there, you are staying uninvited. You are overstaying your welcome. You are behaving as a child who's being told no, and yet he or she keeps crying and pestering, and it doesn't work. So just remember that you will try to find justifications. No matter how dedicated you are to no contact, there will most likely be times when you will look for excuses to reach out. Since I said most likely, that means some of you won't feel that, and that's good, because breaking no contact when it's definitely too early, which really we're talking 60 days, is kind of the minimum. But breaking no contact is not going to do you any good. And you're saying, but my ex is moving so slowly. Why is my ex moving so slowly in terms of contacting me? And that's part of what's driving you crazy, is the mystery of all this. Because as I've said in other videos, mystery is so much more powerful than having the answers. Because when we have the answers, the journey is done. We can stop. There's no more preoccupation. There's no more waking up in the middle of the night trying to figure it out. There's no more wondering about it. It's over. But when there's that mystery, that's what keeps our brains churning and rolling and trying to figure this out. That's one of the reasons no contact is effective in helping you get your ex back, is because you become this mystery to them because they're not hearing anything from you. And so they don't have any answers on what's going on with you. Are you moving on? Are you strong enough to stay away? Apparently you are. Are you going to stay away longer? Those kinds of things that make no contact so effective. And it works on you because you also are not hearing from your ex. And so you're wondering what's going on. Are they able to stay away from you? Is it just simple? Is there someone else? Are they getting over you? Are they hurting? And I have a video about signs you can look for to see if they're hurting. I'll link to that in the description below and you can take a look at that. But it's normal. It's natural for you to wonder about these things and to wonder why it's taking so long. So here are a few reasons it's taking so long for your ex. Reason 1, it could be taking a long time from your ex, is the breakup was difficult. And what I mean is that you made it difficult. Not getting on to you. I'm not going to be judgmental. I'm not going to drill at you. But I am going to say, if you made the breakup difficult, it can take a lot longer for your ex, because what they're thinking is, if I get back together with this person and I decide I was right initially and I should just break up and I should stay broken up with them, then I have to go through all that breakup difficulty again because you made it difficult on them. I get it. It's horrible. It's painful. You're desperate. You're panicking. You love this person. You don't want the breakup. You're shocked. It's normal to respond pretty negatively in that situation. I get it. But there are consequences. There are things you need to look at and consider so that you can emotionally handle this better, because when you know what to expect, usually you can handle it better than when you don't know. Again, it's that mystery versus the answer thing. Mystery is what usually brings anxiety, difficulty, frustration, obsession, preoccupation, and that kind of thing. When you have the answer, it's usually easier. So try to see this as potentially an answer. Maybe it's taken them a long time because you gave them a difficult breakup. You responded poorly. You kind of freaked out on them. You got angry. You cried. You yelled. You pestered. You called. You contacted. You wouldn't give them the breakup. Again, most people do that. Most people react poorly when they're broken up with. So don't feel like that you are just some weirdo. That's not true. If you did that, you actually still have a pretty good chance long term of getting your ex back, simply because if you were able to pull back, your ex kind of assumes, well, okay, they figured it out. They're at peace with it. Are they moving on? That's what is kind of assumed. So unless you had several incidences and you just keep going at them, pestering them, bugging them, breaking no contact, that's when you can start to lower your odds of getting them back. But if this was just an initial poor response to the breakup, then that's where it usually doesn't hurt you that much. Maybe a little bit, but your odds are still pretty good, especially when you add that little element of mystery to it where they say, well, gee, they responded really poorly when I broke up with them, but they don't seem to be having trouble with it now. I wonder if they still are. You see, curiosity, as I talk about in my video, stages your ex goes through during no contact, which I'll link to in the description below. Curiosity is a precursor to attraction. It is not attraction, but it's a precursor. It's a foot in the door, so it can still work out okay. But if you really handle the breakup poorly, sometimes that will delay things. You back off. Usually it just delays it. It doesn't end your chances. But that's one reason that your ex could be taking so long and being so slow in this process of figuring things out and realizing your place in their life and wanting to get back together with you. Reason number 2, your ex is moving so slowly in terms of reaching out to you, is it took them a long time to come to the conclusion they wanted to break up with you. Because most breakups don't just happen overnight. Your ex did not just wake up and say, I think I'll break up with my girlfriend today, or I think I'll break up with my boyfriend today. It didn't just happen on a whim. It was usually several weeks or several months or maybe even several years of them wrestling with it, trying to figure this out, thinking they wanted to, but they're going to give it another chance. They're going to give it another weekend, another night. They're going to give it some more time. And so there's all this time that's built up. And so when they look back on that, they realize it didn't just happen overnight. They don't want to get back together overnight. They want to make sure, because this was a difficult thing, especially if they felt like the relationship was fading for weeks or months or years. Then they trust that more because it has more time under the belt. And so they want to give some time to this to make sure this feeling is true, or at least that they can trust it. And so if it took them a while to get to the point where they thought they wanted to break up with you, then it can take them a while to get to the point where they trust the feeling or the urge or the consideration of wanting to get back together with you. So consider that. If you noticed signs that your ex was considering a breakup for a while, then that can explain why there is a delay and a slowness to their response now after the breakup. I talk about that some in my emergency breakup kit and how you can kind of look at the timeline, you can consider the factors, and at least get some sort of a time guesstimate in terms of when maybe you should start to think about what the future really holds, what you should do, and what to expect from your ex. So take a look at my emergency breakup kit. I will link to that in the description below. Reason number 3, your ex could be taking a long time to contact you about getting back together, is they think you are mad at them and would not take them back. So they think, I broke up with this person. He's probably really mad at me. She's probably really mad at me. They probably won't even answer my call. They probably won't even respond to my text. They would probably tell me to just leave them alone or take a flying leap rather than talk to me about getting back together. A lot of people will tend to think that way. It's something that you cannot try to preempt. And what I mean by that is you can't say, okay, I bet they're thinking that, so I'm going to go ahead and reach out to them. It doesn't work that way. They still need that time. If you wait that 60, 70 days of no contact and then make the decision on your own that you need to reach out to them, see, that's where that time is still effective because they are being without you. They're missing you. They're seeing your place. They're having to experience life without you. And so they can still learn the lesson. But that doesn't mean that during that time that they weren't thinking they wanted to reach out to you, but they talked themselves out of it because they thought you would not talk to them, that you would not be interested in getting back together because you're so hurt, you're so angry, you're so done with them because they broke up with you. A certain percentage, somewhere around the 25 to 30% mark of people who do the dumping will start to think that way. And that's why, again, when some coaches will say, just ignore your ex when they reach out. If your ex is one of those people who think, I've made a mistake, I have woken up to my mistake, I can't believe I did it, I hope they'll take me back, and they reach out and you ignore them. A lot of people who think that you might have done that anyway, and they kind of think, I bet they won't even talk to me, but I'm going to reach out, and then you ignore them, you are unlikely to hear from them again because they just think, well, that makes sense. They probably hate me because I broke up with them. And they won't reach out again because they figure there's zero chance you will talk to them. And they will just have to deal with this. They will think that they made a terrible mistake, but there's nothing that can be done about it. And they will try to move on. So don't ignore your ex. I say that a lot. It's a little pet peeve of mine when people get the idea that they should. Don't ignore your ex when they reach out, because if they are in that 25 to 30% who think that you hate them and it's unlikely you'll want to get back together and you ignore them, it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy to them because they think that's what I thought. So if you don't want to get back together with your ex, by all means ignore them. Sure, yeah, if you don't want to get back together with them, it makes sense. I would do the same thing. But if you want to get back together with your ex, consider what I'm saying and don't ignore your ex, because they could be taking a long time because they think you hate them or won't talk to them about getting back together and that you wouldn't give them another chance because they broke up with you. Reason number 4 that your ex could be being so slow about getting back to you is that they have a rebound relationship. I have a few older videos where I talk about rebound relationships and what it's like for your ex and what your odds are of getting your ex back if they're in a rebound relationship. I'll link to those in the description below and you can take a look at those. But if there's a rebound, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get your ex back. As a matter of fact, sometimes it actually helps because they enter this shallow new relationship and they don't experience the depth that you two had. Or if you just know you're a good person and you two had a good thing, it's unlikely they're going to duplicate that with this other person. It takes them a little while to get that, but a lot of times they end up coming back to you, and the rebound can even help, especially if the rebound knows that they were in a serious relationship and he or she tries to move things along too quickly. It can show the shallowness of that relationship, and they can start seeking something more in depth and real like they had with you. So take a look at the videos I have on that, and you can learn more about rebound relationships and your odds of getting your ex back when they are in one of those. But it at least could slow things down because they might be giving this a real shot with someone. And if they're in a rebound, you kind of have to throw out that 60-day thing because you don't want to contact them while they're in a rebound. You want to kind of wait and at least see if that dissipates. I'll get into more on that in that video I talk about that I'll link to in the description below. Reason number 5 that your ex is slow about contacting you about getting back together is they have friends or family who are pressuring them and trying to keep them in the breakup. And this can be not even if those friends and family dislike you, just they're trying to support their friend, and maybe your ex has said, I broke up with her because of this, or I broke up with him because of that, and those friends think that they need to stick to it because of those things. And so a lot of times a friend will say, no, you said this, so just stay where you are. You'll feel better with time. Don't reach out. It'll get better. It'll get easier. And they'll tell them that. And yes, that can delay things. And that's a frustration, and that's a negativity, because a lot of times people need to mind their own business, but they don't. And we all think we can help more than we really can, when a lot of times the best thing you can do is listen and be comforting instead of trying to dish out advice to someone. But that won't stop most of their friends and family from doing that. Just know that, And just know that a lot of times what that will do is make your ex want you more because they feel like you are out of reach and they're being kept from you. It can work out that way. But the bottom line is, if your ex wants you back, they will find a way. They will push through. Eventually, they will try to get back together with you one way or another. And it might be a casual reach out, which is why you shouldn't only respond if they say something that you think is valuable. Some people think that, but I explain in other videos, particularly one fairly recently where I talk about what to do when an ex breaks no contact and reaches out, and how sometimes they reach out casually just to see if you'll even talk to them, to see if you'll even consider getting back together. They just kind of want to see if you'll casually respond back. And so it's another reason not to ignore them. But those are 5 reasons why your ex will oftentimes take a long time to decide, or they'll be slow about reaching out to you about getting back together. Take a look at my emergency breakup kit. I'll link to it in the description below. Subscribe to this channel. Like this video if you liked this video. And you can always leave me a tip in my tip jar if this video was valuable to you. This has been Coach Lee, and as always, thank you for watching.